Crazy is My Superpower by AJ Mendez Brooks, or known to wrestling fans all over the world as AJ Lee. Her first biography scheduled to come out in April of 2017, but we were able to get a special copy sent to us by the publisher and are able to do this as our first book review ever on this channel. So I hope I can do it justice because it was an awesome book. I've already read it twice. It was a book that's been talked about for a long time. I think last summer already plans were being made for her biography to come out. And I was very excited about it, and I didn't think it would disappoint, but this book was even better than I thought it was going to be, just with her candidness and the way she goes through everything. I will try not to give away too many spoilers so that you can read it on your own, but at the same time, I want to do a review and give you my thoughts on everything. But first, let's start with the wrestler herself, AJ Lee. And kind of the first question that came to mind is, just based on her history in wrestling, can we say AJ Lee future Hall of Famer? And I know there's a lot of politics that are going on right now, her being married to CM Punk, and who knows, I know CM Punk doesn't have the best relationship with the WWE, and CM Punk obviously deserves to be in the Hall of Fame just based on wrestling ability, but politics will always stick in there to make sure that doesn't happen at this point. But at the same time, there always seems to be a lot of forgiveness in wrestling as well too, and once you get past your squabbles, they always seem to come back. I mean, so many people. Bret Hart, the Ultimate Warrior. Now there's rumors that Hulk Hogan's even going to be coming back as well, which actually I am excited about. But AJ Lee herself, she didn't last very long. I mean, that was her choice. I mean, she decided to retire kind of at her peak. Kind of like Roddy Piper. I mean, retire on the top. But she was the Diva of the Year twice, winning the Slammy Award in 2012 and 2014. And then Pro Wrestling Illustrated the fans voted her the Woman of the Year for 3 straight years, 2012, 2013, 2014. I mean, that's a pretty good resume right there. That's probably Hall of Fame worthy. No other woman has ever done that. I mean, obviously they weren't voting the Woman of the Year back in 1957 when the Fabulous Moolah would have won it every year. But in this day and age, with all the competition, to win it 3 straight years, and between 2012 and 2014, I mean, the women's roster was pretty stacked. There was a lot of other competition, and then plus, she's dealing with the TNA roster where people like Gail Kim and stuff were wrestling at the same time, and yet she's winning that award every year. She won the Divas Championship 3 times and held it for 106 days, so over a year. So I think, politics aside, AJ Lee definitely deserves to be in the WWE Hall of Fame someday. I don't think it will happen anytime soon, but maybe in about 5 years or so, they can consider it. She would be a great guest to bring back for that Hall of Fame weekend. I mean, the fans would love her. I mean, she would be an attraction. I don't think she would be the main event of the Hall of Fame, but she would be that one that everyone's excited that, hey, she got in. We want to hear her speech. And, I mean, who knows? I mean, could something happen? Maybe Punk could be the featured one that year, and she could go in as well that year. And what a Hall of Fame. I mean, just with those 2 names right there, what a Hall of Fame that would be. And I respect CM Punk a lot, and I know that there's so many politics, and I'm not going to get involved in that. That's not what this channel is for, but I do respect both Punk and AJ a lot. So on a personal side with AJ, I have met her 3 times in life. 2 times were early in her WWE career, and they were at house shows, and she signed autographs for the fans. Actually, I'm just now realized I've actually met her 4 times. 3 times at various house shows or other things like that, where she was signing for groups of fans that wanted her autograph, take pictures with her. All 3 times she was very giving, I thought. She took the time. I think she signed for, I don't remember any fan not getting an autograph from her that wanted one. She was willing to take pictures with us fans, and that was really cool too. And it was just great experiences meeting her. She was very nice. I had a couple chances to talk to her. her rookie card, I'm a wrestling card collector, and her rookie card was in the WWE Classic set. I don't remember the year on that right now. I want to say 2011, but I might be wrong on that. And so, and us wrestling card collectors, it's like the rookie card is the card to own of people, aside from the autographed cards and stuff like that. But she had an autographed card that year in the rookie set, so then that would be her rookie autographed card. And us collectors also know that for that autograph card, sometimes you can get it signed AJ, and other times the autograph would read AJ Lee. For the collectors, the AJ Lee is a much more desirable autograph because it's over twice as long, and so she wrote for over twice as long. So I just asked her that time at one of the arenas, it's like, so how come about half your cards say AJ and half of them say AJ Lee? And I thought there was going to be a big time philosophical answer, or someone told her to switch or something like that. And she said, well, she started writing them all AJ Lee, and then she just decided she wanted to do something different. So then she started doing AJ. And she said it was about halfway through. I mean, one of them probably has a few more, but she thought it was pretty much halfway. So there's the question answered for all you card collectors out there, that she just decided to switch. And that's kind of AJ in a nutshell, I think. Just following her heart, and just, hey, she wanted to do something a little different, and it worked. And hey, and now everyone's talking about it because there's two different kinds of cards from that set, both the AJ Lee autograph and the AJ autograph. So those times, that's the type of stuff we talked about there. All very pleasant to talk to, very nice person. And then the last time I met her was at WrestleMania 31. She and Roman Reigns were the special guests for the Barnes & Noble book signing in San Jose, where they would be signing copies of the WWE Superstars Guide. For those not familiar with it, it's kind of like a mini WWE encyclopedia, but a little bit more cartoonish. All the pictures are a little bit more cartoonish, so knowing AJ Lee's love for superheroes and superheroines, a perfect choice for have her do it. And Roman Reigns probably wasn't a bad choice on the other end then either, as he was just about to go into the main event of WrestleMania 31. So for each book that you bought, they would sign the book, and then they would also sign other memorabilia that you brought in. They were handing out wristbands at the San Jose Barnes & Noble at 9 o'clock a.m. on a Thursday morning of WrestleMania week. I got to Barnes & Noble a little bit before 6 a.m. that morning, and I was about 30th in line, give or take a couple, and I was very happy with that because I wasn't sure how many people would be in line that early. It was Thursday morning, so the WWE package people might not have all been in there, and I don't know. I honestly thought I would be a lot farther back in line at 6, but I was trying to get enough sleep that night because I had a full weekend of festivities ahead of me too. I didn't want to start getting off on my sleep before the big WrestleMania week, so I was very happy. We got into the store. I decided to purchase 4 books. Figured that would give me a little more time to talk to both of them. They were very reasonably priced, I believe $14.95 each. And you're getting an autograph from AJ Lee and an autograph from Roman Reigns on each one. So I thought, hey, for the extra time, I mean, the 2 autographs, you're talking $7.50 a piece per autograph. That's not bad at all. Plus the book itself, it's a great collector's item. You can get it signed. I actually have one of them. I'm getting signed by other people at the same time, and keeping the other ones the way they are right now. So I actually got wristbands 31, 32, 33, and 34, which I was really excited about because that meant the next day, Friday, when they actually did the signing, I not only had a guaranteed chance to meet them, but I had a guaranteed spot in line, and I would be one of the first ones out of there. And Friday, there was a lot more going on with WrestleCon and Access. Thursday was just Access that night, and so not too much on my schedule. So the next day, I got to meet her and Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns went well, but she's the one that we're talking about today. And once again, a great meeting, very humble and quiet, and yet at the same time talkative. I felt like she enjoyed meeting the fans that day, posed very well for the pictures, And I was just very impressed once again with meeting her. Just, she became one of my favorites just from, I mean, I've always loved her in-ring skills, but here she was being very nice to the fans as well. And so my experiences with her are great. So another reason I was really looking forward to the book. So the book, that's what we're supposed to be talking about today anyway, and I got off on wrestling stories like I usually do. But she talks way more about her childhood than most wrestling biographies, which I think for a few reasons. Probably one, because she did have a very interesting childhood, and it molded her maybe a little bit more than it did for some of the other superstars, as they maybe got molded a little bit more by some of the stuff that happened in their wrestling career. And then also because, I mean, her wrestling career wasn't as long, so I mean, she does get into some really great stories about her wrestling career, but I mean, she only had a few years there of actual wrestling. She did do independent wrestling in New Jersey. That's how she got into the business, I believe, like 2007. I think she was trained by Jay Lethal, and so I don't know if it was his company. I know there's a DVD out called The Best of Miss April, which is who she wrestled as. I believe, I would assume it's RF Video. It might be High Spots. I don't know who to give the credit to, but one of them has a DVD of that, and actually it's a very good DVD. You can see some of her early matches if you're an AJ Lee fan. And then, of course, she ended up in Florida Championship Wrestling for a long time, and she talks about that, the Florida Championship Wrestling, about how she came in so, like, it was like a lifelong dream, and she was scared, and she was trying to get help from everyone else as being the rookie, and she was always willing to listen. And then she kind of felt stuck in Florida Championship Wrestling for a while, and eventually became the veteran woman there, which had its pluses because then she could be a leader, but her end goal wasn't to stay in Florida Championship Wrestling, it was to make it to the main roster, and there was even some frustrations there. Chapter 1 in her book is called Drowning Barbies, and it's pretty much talks about her childhood just a little bit, and, well, she actually seemed to be doing some torture to some Barbie dolls, so kind of a little bit. She got in a fight with her brother, and her brother's name's Robbie, and Robbie was the big wrestling fan in the family, and somehow during one of their fights together, she ended up bending his prized Miss Elizabeth 1987 Topps card. And for those of you who are probably Robbie's age, which is probably pretty close to my age as well, we all remember those 1987 Topps cards. And Miss Elizabeth, I mean, she and the Macho Man, they were, if you weren't a Hulkamaniac, you were probably into her and Randy Savage. And so to bend a card, I could see how that would be kind of traumatic for Robbie, and I guess that caused a lot of fights, and Robbie kind of tormenting her for a while as they were kids. But they, besides a few stories like that, they seem to have a nice family as well, but they grew up very poor, and she was always worried about just trying to make it so that she could help her family, and so she could be the hero in her family, and that's kind of how she got into superheroines as well, of just gonna take that next step in life. Chapter 2, called Mad Love, where she talks a little bit about maybe her early school life and dealing with the relationships of that, and trying to figure that out. Chapter 3, A Place Called Home, and talks about some of the struggles of growing up poor, and some of her family, and some of the struggles that they went through as well. I mean, she gets really deep on some things, which is pretty cool, and seems very honest. It didn't feel like she was like holding anything back. It's like if it happened, she would tell it, even if it wasn't the most proud moments of their life. I mean, they would be like living in hotels and stuff like that, and just trying to pretty much every day survive, and kind of seeing her later in life, it's kind of like it really just, it's a shame that we didn't know all of this ahead of time, because I think we would have all been rooting for her even twice as hard then, and I really do. It makes me really excited then that she's turned out to be such a class individual, and just to give back to like us fans and stuff like that, and because life hasn't always been kind to her, and yet at the same time she can give back a lot of kindness to all of us. Chapter 4, Swallow Me Whole, don't remember that much about that chapter. I don't think I was, once again, I think it's just more about her, some more things on her childhood, kind of right into chapter 5, a step-by-step guide on how to turn into your mother, so here she is, getting a little older, and now things are starting to become real in life, and she has to deal with all that kind of stuff, but also deal with more responsibilities and stuff like that. So, yeah, once again, it's just all about her childhood once again. Chapter 6, Lie to Me. She talks about being in Madison Square Garden for her first ever wrestling match, or like what this was watching. And then also she went to school for just a little while, but then she wasn't able to stay in school. She had to come back and help the family. And that got us into chapter 7. So here she's an adult by this time, working at a checkout lane at a supermarket, trying to help her family in every way that she can. And during this time, she opens up about how she would meet other poor families who couldn't afford the basic everyday food, who had even less than her, and opens up a couple stories about how she even tried to help them. A couple of them backfired, and at the same time, and she always was, I think she was struggling between right and wrong about, well, like Robin Hood, it's like, do you steal from the rich to give to the poor? Is that right? Is that morally right? And you can read that. I mean, she even puts little stuff in here like her name tag from the supermarket, and it's just kind of, I really appreciated stuff like that, because it kind of really makes like you feel like you're taking this journey with her, and you can imagine this is what she was doing at this time in life. I mean, here, 21 years old, and this is what she was doing in life, and we're taking the path right with her. It was at the end of this chapter she kind of started adding some stuff at the end of some of these chapters, and this was a big part of the book, which I really liked. For this one, she titled it Diary of an Unfit Mind, and it's my irrationally long list of irrational feelings. And then this is like things that make me irrationally scared. And there's things on there that include revolving doors, and the last step off an escalator, and when she's walking at a brisk pace towards an automatic door and it still hasn't opened. And so I thought that one was really funny. It's like walking the pace and why aren't you opening door? And there's a few other funny ones in there. I'm not going to spoil them all at this point, but then it goes to the next part, things that make me irrationally angry. For some reason, she hates the song Love Shack by the B-52s. Don't know why. Maybe someday I'll have to ask her that if I ever get a chance to see her again. And another one, and then she mentions just a few other times in her thing how no one from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia has won an Emmy yet. I am honestly not familiar with It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia at all, so I have no idea if that has changed since the writing of this book, or if the show actually is even still on. I know I've seen some of the DVDs, but I couldn't even tell you what the show was about. But she mentioned that earlier, I believe it was when she was in her first apartment down in Florida in FCW Wrestling, that she had all the DVDs and she would play them on her laptop, and that was one of her big forms of entertainment. And then the last part of that ending of the chapter was things that make me irrationally happy. For some reason, she really likes right angles. And another one that I actually did understand, which other people wouldn't because you have to watch the show, is when Lori and Barbara are on the Shark Tank panel at the same time. I love Shark Tank. It's a good show. And so I can imagine that I just kind of get that joke, and Lori and Barbara on the same time. I actually like all the panelists. I think they all fit together for a good show, but she kind of likes, I guess, Barbara and Lori at the same time. She thinks that makes it a better show. So that was the end of the Robin Hood of the Express Checkout Lane chapter. Then we go right into a Born Again chapter, and that's chapter 8. So it's talking about going to wrestling school for the first time. Really good about that. There's a picture of her first wrestling school in it that looks like it's in a pretty bad part of town, and I think that's kind of the point of the picture. And so wasn't always easy for her. And she also shows a picture of her knee after going through a horrific injury, and her knee looks pretty bad in that picture. So she's really giving us everything to take the journey of it. So this one also had Diary of the Unfit Mind at the end of the thing. And then she has a thing called Surviving Sisterhood, where she talks about how to deal with a sister. Both, I mean, kind of tells the good things, tells the bad things, and gives you some advice on how to be a sister. Chapter 9, I Want to Believe. We're getting farther into her wrestling career as she's just focusing on wrestling school and wants to believe that she's going to make it. You get to hear the story about how she goes into the WWE and how she even had to make decisions based on doing an indie show or continuing to follow her dream into WWE. How she thought there's no way she was going to get picked the very first time when there was about 30 wrestlers who were all competing for one spot, but she kind of thought maybe she would have a chance to win one of those backup contests. Kind of like if you remembered one of the Total Divas competitions, I believe it's one Christy Hemme won. Yeah, Christy Hemme won and won the contract, but then look who else it favored. I believe Michelle McCool came out of that. Maria, did maybe Layla come out of that? And even a couple people that maybe didn't even last quite as long. And if I'm forgetting someone, I really do apologize to them. I don't remember everything that happened. The main ones I remember were Maria and Michelle McCool. They were playing dodgeball that one SummerSlam, and that was if you ever hear Michelle McCool and Molly Holly tell that story about the dodgeball, I think it's on the WWE Network Table for 3. It was Molly Holly, Michelle McCool, and I'm going to say Ivory. You can find it on the WWE Network Table for 3. One of the best ones at all. Anything Molly Holly is a part of on the WWE Network, she's on 2 of those Table for 3s. Definitely worth checking out. I'm a huge Molly Holly fan. So there's even a picture, though, of the scribbled first contract and how it was just amazing that she finally got that first contract. And once again, I mean, we're just taking this journey with her, and she is just letting us into her most personal thoughts, and that's why this book was so intriguing and it was so good. And I commend you, AJ Lee, that this is a very well written book, and your life is amazing to follow with you, and I'm so glad that you've given us this opportunity because we do appreciate what you did in the ring. The end of that, I believe this is chapter 9 we're on, I Want to Believe. She has a letter to my future daughter where she talks everything about how her hair is going to be frizzy because she's Puerto Rican, and one of them is never fit in. I mean, have some selfie respect, talking about taking selfies. And always bring a sweater to places because you never know when you're going to be cold. Chapter 10 is Hello Sunshine, as that means she was moving to Florida after getting her Florida Championship Wrestling contract. And like she kind of started this one with, happily ever after, because that's what she got the contract. That was like the dream in life, and life is good. And now all of a sudden, there's more to do. She says, no one ever tells you what happens after Happily Ever After. The book gets shut and the credits roll, and we're just supposed to assume that when the hero of the story gets exactly what they want, the story is over. But when you finally cross the finish line, slay the dragon, marry the prince, reach the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, when you actually get a hold of whatever the hell it is you've just been chasing like mad, there's only one thought that will cross your mind. What now? And that's pretty much what this was one of my favorite chapters, because you get to see she's in the wrestling world now. She's got the contract down in Florida, but she still has hurdles to climb, and they're trying to mold her into the AJ Lee character. We get to find out why the name AJ Lee. I won't spoil that. We get to find out what the initial thoughts were, what they thought her weaknesses were, what her strengths were. Having to cut a promo. When was the first promo she had to cut, and how she was surprised by that. Chapter 11 is entitled No One Wants to Have Sex with You. Kind of gives some of the maybe the not so pleasant stuff about the wrestling industry, and once again she's just so candid about things that have happened, and these were things that weren't flattering, and at the same time, I mean, almost like garbage that she had to deal with, some of the stuff she had to deal with, and just the meanness of people. And she protects some of the names and talks about like how this wrestler, and she never mentions the name, or this agent, when they do something really bad to her. So she's not throwing people under the bus, but yet at the same time giving us an idea of some of the garbage that she had to deal with. And it kind of makes you realize. Chapter 12, entitled Extra Whip. And just kind of, this is kind of where she was stuck in Florida Championship Wrestling for just a little while longer, waiting to make it up to the main roster. But then it does talk about the main roster and all the things that she had to do there. This one has, at the end, how to find love, which is kind of how to keep love and how to know that he's the one. And so, kind of her dream story about finding someone too. Chapter 13 is called Girl on Girl, and this is kind of where she talks about going out into the community and what she can do as somebody who is in the spotlight now, and how she can help people at the schools and stuff, but also some of the other things about being a woman in a man's dominated sport. And she really doesn't pull any punches. Chapter 14, Crazy Chicks Do It Better. Kind of a short chapter, just kind of summing everything up and everything that happened. And so just kind of puts a nice bow on the book. So that's the book in a nutshell. I hope I didn't give away too much. I don't know if I'm supposed to rate it at this point, but one of my favorite wrestling biographies of all time. And partially just because, I mean, I lived the whole from beginning to end of her career, and so to get to it all written out, and yet there's so much special stuff, I think, that happened to her that wouldn't happen to a lot of people. And she wrote it in a way that lets us relate to it, lets us understand some of the things that she went to, maybe even helps us understand why she retired when she did. That was still one of my biggest disappointments, was that she did retire. I thought, I enjoyed watching her every week. I thought she did an amazing job. I think she would definitely still fit in now into when they're not the Divas anymore, but their women's championship. I think if she still was wrestling, she would be a top contender in either Raw or SmackDown, and they could both definitely use her right now. But at the same time, I understand that maybe she wants to pursue her next steps in life, and I hope that her and CM Punk are happy together, and that they live a long, productive life for what they have. I do hope that they mend their bridges with the WWE eventually, so that maybe they can both get into the Hall of Fame, and we can all be a part of that then too, and then maybe even have, you could easily have a 3-disc DVD set on AJ Lee and WWE and just take you through the history there, especially if they got her back and are letting her do the commentary and stuff. That would be an awesome DVD set. I don't plan on seeing that anytime soon either, but who would have thought that we'd have 2 DVD sets of The Ultimate Warrior in WWE? Actually, 3 if you count the one that they kind of were negative on him towards. So anything can happen, but otherwise, yeah. Like I said, I would definitely, if you are a fan of AJ Lee, buy the book. If you are a fan of wrestling biographies, buy the book. And otherwise, it's going to be one of the greatest wrestling biographies that I've read in a long time, and I will give it 5 stars on a 5-star scale. I also really do appreciate AJ Lee and the niceness to the fans. Maybe if she ends up at Comic-Cons and stuff like that, I'll have a chance to meet her again someday, and I would look forward to that. And other than that, I just thank you for listening to the review. Please leave comments down below in the comments section, especially once the book comes out in April, or if you've also had a chance to read it early for some reason. Let other people know what you think. Please don't put spoilers, especially until people have a chance to read the book. Let's let people read it for themselves. I tried not to give any spoilers today. Please subscribe to my channel, as I'm trying to get constant things out. We're going to be starting Impact reviews, hopefully starting tonight. It won't be live tonight, but it will be coming out soon. We'll continue to have SmackDown and Raw unabridged episodes for you. We're going to take the journey to WrestleMania this year. Hopefully you can join me on that. And Also, just send in your comments, and we can do with this channel whatever you guys want to do. Follow us on Twitter at Wrestling UNAB. It's Wrestling UNAB. It's the Wrestling Unabridged channel at Twitter. Just the first 4 letters of unabridged, as the whole word doesn't fit. Some days we live tweet out during the shows and during the pay-per-views. Other days we just keep you updated on what's going on with the channel and where we're going next. But tweet your things that you want to see. And if you have more book reviews, we would certainly like to hear. I own most of the wrestling books that are out right now, and a couple of things I'm thinking is possibly maybe doing Pat Patterson's book, Accepted. I've really enjoyed that one. But right now I'm actually in the middle of reading the Road Warrior Animals book. I think the book's called What a Rush. I don't know for sure on that, and I don't have it right in front of me right now, but I have read that one before in the past, and I'm rereading it again, and it's always a good read, so maybe I'll do that one as well. But if you guys have one that you'd like to see, just hit it up on the bottom of the screen. Thank you for taking this journey with me, and as always, so long from the North Star State.